the Faculty of Technology, Rajarata University of Sri Lanka, and I will be the moderator of today's webinar. And I am one of TDR Global member from TDR community. On behalf of the organizers, Faculty of Technology, Rajarata University of Sri Lanka, and TDR Global Asia, I would like to extend my warm welcome to all guests to the mentor-mentee relationship webinar being hosted for the first time in Sri Lanka. Today, we are privileged to have welcome speech conducted by scientists from the WHO TDR Global in Geneva. On behalf of all gathered here, I warmly welcome Professor Pascal Lunius, coordinator from the TDR Global in Geneva, to deliver the welcome speech. Professor Pascal?
Yeah. Good morning or good afternoon from some of you. Thanks to attend this important web seminar. It's important for you, but also for TDR. So I am a training manager in the Research Capacity Strengthening Unit in TDR, located in WHO. TDR is co-sponsored by the UNDP, UNICEF, the World Bank, and WHO. And one objective of the Research Capacity Strengthening is to develop capacity in terms of particularly implementation research in low and middle income countries. So since several years, we are developing this training package. And what we identify as really important for developing really capacity in the South is to maintain the link between mentor and mentorship. I think it's with the discussion that we have with the TDR Global trainees, the mentorship program is really a critical factor for the development of the career, but also for the successful implementation of the research project. So I'm very proud to welcome you in this session, because it's really the focus of the TDR Global, to build the community and to try to build this community through a mentorship program. So I will stop here, and again I will thank everyone from the different countries just to attend this important meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Prof. Pascal, to delivering the welcome speech. And to be familiar with our institutional setting, we would like to give a brief introduction to the Rajarata University and the Faculty of Technology. I think you will prefer to see video than reading text-based content. Hence, we are sharing this 2-minute promotional short video for your benefit. Please entertain that. Safi, you could play the video.
Rajarata University of Sri Lanka started its proud journey on the 31st of January 1996 as the 11th State University of Sri Lanka. Situated in the ancient city of Mihinthale, which marked the inception of the Sri Lankan social development, and a place where erudite personalities were born with the unsurpassable abilities to mark their names in the universe. The university stands symbolizing the unchallenging nature. Welcome to the Faculty of Technology, Rajarata University of Sri Lanka. The Faculty of Technology is the latest addition to the family of Rajarata University. Being located at the historic city of Mihintale, the faculty provides enormous opportunities, a unique learning culture, and huge working experiences for the students. The faculty consists of 5 departments: the Department of Bioprocess Technology, the Department of Electrical and Electronics Engineering, the Department of Food Technology, the Department of Information and Communication Technology, and the Department of Materials Technology, leading to their respective degree programs.
Think you would like to hear more about the institution after seeing this marvelous video. Therefore, on this occasion, I would like to invite Dr. Ananda Karunaratne, Vice Chancellor of the Rajarata University of Sri Lanka, to introduce the university first. Vice Chancellor, sir.
Hello. Hello. Without radio, we can. Hello, do you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Hi. Thank you for inviting me. And I would like to thank the organizers for this timely webinar on mentorship and for making me a part of it. I warmly welcome the panelists, the organizers, and the participants, and hope all of you would have a very productive webinar. For the benefit of the participants, our university was officially opened on the 31st of January 1996. Over this relatively short period of time, we have made giants by Sri Lanka, frequently obtaining substantial research and development
Vice Chancellor, sir, your connection, you are unmuted. Can you please unmute it? We cannot hear.
Sorry.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yes, faculties, management studies, social sciences and humanities, agriculture, applied sciences, medicine, and allied sciences and technology. So Rajarata University is uniquely located amidst the splendor of the most revered ancient kingdom of Sri Lanka with its enormously rich agricultural heritage. Although it provides a tranquil atmosphere for the academics, our unique location provides us ample challenges which are perceived as opportunities by our staff and students to uplift the living conditions of the farm communities. So while congratulating the organizers for taking up such a challenging and colossal task of organizing this webinar in a relatively short period of time, I would also like to wish for a future filled with a very productive collaboration that would make this partnership all more meaningful. So thank you and have a pleasant day. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vice Chancellor, sir. Next, I will cordially invite Dr. Buddhika Jayatilaka, Dean, Faculty of Technology, Rajarata University of Sri Lanka, to introduce the main host institution of today's webinar.
Hello all, greetings. It's a great pleasure to join this webinar representing the Faculty of Technology at the Rajarata University of Sri Lanka. This is a newly established faculty at Rajarata University, and what is unique about this faculty is it's a really interdisciplinary faculty with specialties ranging from biosystem technology to engineering technology to information and communication technology. So under these three categories, we have 5 departments, namely under the biosystems technology, we have Department of Bioprocess Technology and Food Technology. And then under the engineering technology stream, we have electrical and electronics technology and the materials technology. And in addition to that, we have a information and communication technology department. And though this is a newly established faculty, we are well equipped with both human and physical resources. And our staff is consisting of scientists, engineers, mathematicians, and also IT experts. This is a really diverse staff to work on, and we believe that's one of our greatest strengths. And also in terms of physical resources, we have state-of-art laboratory complexes and very high-end teaching and research equipment. So this is a place of opportunity, and I would like to openly invite you all to join with us to become our journey to become one of the actually research and innovation hub of this country. And we have an enormous capacity, so I openly welcome you all to join with us. And especially today, I would like to thank WHO TDR for giving us this opportunity, and we all are looking forward to work with you in future. And finally, I would like to appreciate the effort of our bioprocess technology department for organizing this kind of a webinar. So thank you very much, and I wish you our very best of luck for the webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. So, moving to today's special webinar, we have over 1,000 participants from more than 20 countries, making this webinar a truly international event. So, thank you for taking your time and being here today. I am optimistic that all participants will understand and acquire the required skill and knowledge from this webinar. And of course, I would encourage all participants to take active part in the interesting discussion section, question and answering section during the live question and answering session at the end of the webinar. We have enabled our Ask a Question feature. So it is on the right-hand side of your screen. If you have any questions, just pop them in there. And if you miss anything, don't worry, we'll be sending around on-demand recording once it's available. Moving to the mentoring webinar on the topic of mentoring. Is well-established technique that helps talented individuals achieving their potential. Mentors provide their mentees with support, encouragement, friendship reinforcement, and a constructive example. But mentoring is not a one-size-fits-all. Mentees have individual needs, so mentoring relationships should offer enough flexibility to suit each context while allowing the relationships to flourish within a defined structure. Therefore, let's talk more about this very interesting relationship through our webinar today. With that, I would be really happy to introduce our first guest speaker, Professor Pradeepa Bandaranayake. She is currently serving as a director of the Agriculture Biotechnology Center and a professor in molecular biology and biotechnology attached to the Faculty of Agriculture, University of Peradeniya in Sri Lanka. On behalf of everybody, I welcome Professor Pradeepa to deliver her speech on roles of mentor and mentee.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for having me. I hope you can hear me. Good afternoon or good morning, depending on where you are. Today, I will share my experience on the given topic, roles of mentor and mentee. First, I would like to share my experience with you as a mentee. I grew up as a researcher since starting my graduate studies at University of California, Davis. My advisor and the primary mentor, Professor John Yoder, was a role model for me. I met this other group of mentors in 2007, Professor Claude DeFamphilis from Penn State, Professor Jim Westwood from Virginia Tech, and Professor Mike Tinko from UVA. I visit USA every year and still collaborate with them, climbing up in the ladder to reach my goals as a researcher and an academic under their mentorship. I'm happy to have these great mentors around me to supporting to go where we are, where I want to go. On the other hand, I am a mentor of about 2 postdocs and 15 graduate students, 2 technical officers and 2 technical assistants at my institution at Agricultural Biotechnology Center, University of Peradeniya. So I have a really diverse research group, starting from fundamental molecular biologists to computer engineering graduate students who are working on bioinformatics and computational biology. So with this little experience, I would like to share with you and discuss with you what is mentoring and what is it actually? Is it like telling a person to do what to do, or sort of like counseling, or listening without advising, dealing with underperforming individuals in your lab or your group, or intend to deal with like personal issues of them, or promoting or sponsoring or protecting your mentors, or sort of like a therapy, or taking on problems on or the working of the mentee. I would say no to all of them. So what is it then? So mentoring, there are definitions available. I picked these 2. One of them says offline help by one person to another in making significant transitions in knowledge or thinking. So, and another definition, it says help to support people to manage their own learning in order to maximize their potential develop their skills, improve their performance, and become the person they want to be. So I have highlighted some of the points here, which will be really important for our discussion in next few minutes. So what is mentoring then? It is sort of a supportive form of development. It can help a person to manage their career aspirations. Mentee can also discuss issues related to their current role with your mentor. And personal issues can also discuss if they are relevant. So we have to separate this advisor and the mentor, because sometimes we use these two terms interchangeably as well, but there is a difference, obviously. And an advisor or supervisor is the person that will help the student to acquire and develop the skills they need and guide the students' research project by communicating efficiently with the student and reviewing and providing regular feedback on the students' progress on their research in this research mentorship. And the mentor is not, probably most of the times I would say, advisor or the supervisor may not be the best primary mentor, and an advisor is not always a mentor, and may not be the personal involved person with you as well. So as I mentioned earlier, I had a actually great mentor and an advisor. So I was lucky in that sense, but it may be different as well. So I, at this institution, as the director of the center, I play different roles. I am an investigator, I'm an administrator, supervisor, team lead, teacher, committee member. But what do my mentees want from me? There are different things compared to what I do every day in my life. So they may seek advices, they may seek guidance, coaching, helping make contacts, and then sharing experience. Some mentees would expect a brainstorming partner and grant writing skills from the mentor, insights, help to be directed, collaboration skills, and presentation skills. So these are different things that the mentee would expect from the mentor. So as a mentor, I can help mentee to build the capacity and self-reliance and highlight the issues and assist the mentee plan in the ways to go through them, with them actually, and help them, and clarify the mentee's perspectives while bringing an additional impartial, I have highlighted some terms here, as you see, impartial view to bear on their issues and improve the level of performance and satisfaction of your mentee, and manage the integration of job, career, and personal goals together, right? And but I would I should mention here the confidentiality, trust, and understanding, and the positive expectation are the key to the successful partnership between your mentor and the mentee. It is really important. So what are the roles of mentor and mentee? I think the first thing is defining a mentoring relationship. What sort of relationship you want to create? Formal or informal? Goal versus topic or task driven? For example, I told you, like I have different graduate students, they may expect different things. For example, if the student is looking for higher studies, probably there's a goal-driven mentorship that they expect to look for a higher studies opportunity or what they want to do. And whether it's frequent meetings or infrequent meeting, or degree or the level of guidance you expect, and accountability, definitely that is very important at this relationship. And this great match is very important for a good mentor-mentee relationship. We have to understand this role carefully. So what are the roles of a mentor then? Ask questions and challenges, and suggest networking opportunities for your mentor, depending on the context and discussions that you have with your mentee, and boost confidence and encourages, act as a sounding board, broad, and advise them, and can act as a gateway and facilitate contact with other people, and helps to set realistic goals. That's really important, realistic goals, and passing on of knowledge, how to do things, how to do this, how to do that. So there's some of the roles of the mentor as I see. And what are the roles of the mentee then? A positive developmental partnership driven primarily by the mentee. This is really important. So this relationship mainly driven by the mentee, and realistic expectations of the process, what can be achieved through this relationship or the mentorship, and be often challenges, maybe self and other. So you will have some assumptions, beliefs, fears, and you want to, clarify those things, and ownership of the process and actions arising. So this relationship, or the mentor-mentee relationship, so how do you, what sort of actions arise and what is next? So that is also important for this relationship. So what are the key features of a mentor? So I just got this from the Nature Guide for Mentors, published in 2007. So I deleted some of them, but I got few. Scientific expertise, enthusiasm, passion for science, sensitivity, respect or the integrity, unselfishness, and the support for other than your own students. So, as a mentor, we will get, as I mentioned, sometimes your major advisor or supervisor is not your mentor. So you will be having different students looking for your mentorship. Then you have to support others thinking they are own as well. So you have to be a good communicator, ask good questions, be a good listener, and you have to, I think a good mentor will be good, well connected and networking, and sometimes funding is also important, and open door policy, like it is, you are ready to or available to help or mentor at any time, like open door policy what they introduce, and inspiration, optimism, balanced direction and self-direction, good work-life balance. You should have your work-life balance definitely to help with the others, and good ideas and collaborative. So those are some of the key features of a good mentor. So there are some principles they talk about. So usually when based on all the evidences, mentee drives this mentoring agenda, and engagement is often voluntary from both sides, from mentor and mentee side, and mentoring relationship is definitely confidential, and it is a relationship built upon the trust. I have highlighted key terms here. Trust is very important, and mutual respect for both sides. And the mentor basically empowers the mentee to take responsibility of their own learning and career development. So basically the role of the mentor is then to empower the mentee to take the responsibility. So there are different models that they help, they have introduced how the mentors help mentee to learn. One of them is the guidance model. Basically, the mentor will provide hands-on guidance, explain how and why, and creating opportunities to learn. That's one of them. And the challenger model is basically challenging and stimulating and questioning the mentor in that mentoring model. And the role model, this is what I prefer and what I have observed and I have experienced as well. I try my best to be a role model for my mentees as well. Basically, this is pretty much unseen, largely unfelt. The mentee unconsciously adapt the aspects of the mentor's thinking, behavior, and or style. So it's really important. So, I mean, it can be any of these models, but my personal preference, as I mentioned, is to become a role model for my mentors. But obviously, I would like to end this session by saying there's no formula for the perfect mentor. And it is always, depends on many other things. But there are ethical and confidential boundaries to protect the mentees and the mentors. With that, I would like to conclude. And if you have any question, I will be answering at the question and answering session. And I would like to thank the organizers for giving me an opportunity to discuss this matter with over 1,000 people. I'm really happy. Thank you very much, organizers and the TDR Global. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. Pradeepa, for your valuable talk. Our second guest speaker is Professor Joseph Tucker. He is an associate professor from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill and London School of Hygiene, Tropical Medicine in UK. He will first sketch out the 4 types of mentors and several ways that this relationship can go wrong under the topic of mentor archetype, successful and unsuccessful relationships in mentoring. So it is with special excitement that I welcome Professor Joseph Tucker to deliver his guest speech today.
Thanks, Dr. Asha. It's great to be here. Is it possible to start my video too? Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
It's not, it says the host has stopped it. I don't know if there's a way to start like the video part. I'll screen share. Can everyone see my slides?
Yes, we can see.
Okay, thanks. It's great to be here. And today I'm going to talk about mentor archetypes, successful and unsuccessful relationships and mentoring. And this goes way, way back to ancient Greece. So mentor was a guide for Telemachus, the son of Ulysses, when Ulysses went away to war. And in the talk today, first, I'm going to go and give a little background about my own mentors and discuss who they were and how they helped. And then I'll talk about some of these bigger archetypes, and then a few missteps, and then finally a few words of advice. Mike Cohen has been and still is my main mentor. He was one of the first physicians to go to China in the post-reform period. And I went to him as an undergraduate and said, I want to do this kind of research. And he quickly helped me to identify my weaknesses and trace a path to help me do the kind of research that I was really excited about. And early on in my training, it was really difficult. It was very sort of biomedical, and Mike provided opportunities and met with me regularly and provided important guidance. And I finally, as a third-year medical student, got to go to Nanjing, China, and that's what you see on the left here. And that really opened up a number of opportunities, and for me, it was essential. And can people still see the slides? Yeah?
Yes, we cannot see.
And another key mentor for me was Arthur Kleinman, who was a China scholar and anthropologist, and he helped to connect me to thought leaders. And this is a slide of Guangzhou in China. And for him, he was sort of a connector and linked me with a number of key individuals. Oops. It sounds like there's some problems with the slides. Sorry. It says the screen sharing is disabled. Can you try again to let me screen share? It's not letting me screen share. Sorry.
Asya, maybe you can help.
Sachi,
Or you could just make me a co-host, maybe?
Yes. Dr. Pradeepa, can you make Dr. Joseph as a co-host?
Great, perfect, thanks. Arthur, and actually let me go back. So Arthur Kleinman introduced me to a number of colleagues and was sort of a connector archetype. And before I go too far, can people see the slides now? Can anyone see the slides?
Yes.
Yes, we can see the slide.
Okay, great, thanks. And that was really valuable for me and helped me as a junior researcher, and led me to Guangzhou in China. You can see the slide deck here, and we organized several interdisciplinary projects, and sort of his mentorship was instrumental in helping me to identify different thought leaders. And then another key mentor in my own development was Rosanna Peeling at the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine. And she supported me to attend conferences and gave me an opportunity to join TDR meetings. You can see here several photos from the Bioméréaux Foundation in Annecy, France, and having a supporter and someone who gives you a place at the table is really a key part of mentorship. So Dr. Pradeepa has covered the sort of definitions really well. I won't dwell on this, but I'd like to underline that mentors and advisors are very different in many respects, and mentorship is sort of a more complex and nuanced process. And in terms of archetypes, the traditional mentor, you meet periodically with the individual. It's really about respect and trust and values and communication. And this is a really important sort of mentor archetype. Another key archetype is the coach, and this is more focused. So it might be that you want to learn a specific skill and you want to be introduced to a new method, and this may not be a long-term relationship, but more specific. And then a sponsor relationship, this is the person who gets you the place at the table. This sponsor can make mentees more visible, and particularly for women in science and research, having sponsors is really important. And then the connector archetype, this is often a division chief or a leader, and the old school version of this would be on the left here, the sort of older white man who is leading the department. And the recent Nobel laureate, Professor Dudna, is a great example of the connector. So now I'd like to go to missteps and sort of where things can go wrong in the mentor-mentee relationship. The hijacker. So mentors can sometimes steal ideas and take opportunities, and these are the mentors who end up being first authors on all of the publications. And this is important to avoid and to sort of consider. The other misstep is the exploiter. So non-academic chores, getting coffee, managerial and administrative duties are given to the mentee. And instead of having mentees really focus on research and academic pursuits, they're sidetracked. And the world traveler in the COVID universe, this is probably more the Zoom traveler. that some mentors are so busy and so swamped that they have limited time to connect with mentees on a regular basis. I would like to add the caveat that many of the busy people are also the ones who are really strong mentors. So you want to find a busy mentor, but you want to make sure that they have time. So a few pearls of advice. One, build a team of mentors. It's not going to be a single person. It's going to be multiple individuals who are able to provide mentorship. Communicate, and Dr. Pradeepa has mentioned this already, that I think setting expectations and thinking really explicitly about goals and career development, short-term, medium-term, and long-term goals are all really, really useful. Much of these archetypes and also the mentorship missteps are from two really fantastic articles by Dr. Chopra et al. And I'm happy to share these two articles with anyone who's interested. But the sort of non-biographical part of this talk was largely from these two journal articles. So I'd like again to thank TDR Global. And for those who are interested, check out TDR Global online. I'd like to thank Dr. Asha and Dr. Sassy and the colleagues in Sri Lanka and Indonesia who've organized this. Happy to answer any questions as part of the panel, and I'll turn things back to you, Dr. Asha. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Professor Joseph, for delivering such an informative talk in a very comprehensive way. Now the time for our final guest speaker. It's a great pleasure for me to introduce our final speaker, who is going to talk to us about successful mentor-mentee relationship under the topic of the ideal mentee, desirable qualities in a mentee. So let me warmly welcome Dr. Chathuranga Bamunuarachchige, former Dean of the Faculty of Technology, Rajarata University of Sri Lanka, to deliver his speech today.
Thank you, Asha. After two great presentations, we have come to the shopping list because I'm going to talk about the ideal mentee or the desirable qualities in a mentee. Greetings, everybody, and welcome to my presentation. So first of all, let's look at the need to discuss these kind of qualities. So they may primarily be focused on research, but on the other hand, some of these qualities are also what are expected by your employers. So as a mentee, when you go to the industry, if you have some of these qualities that are already expected by the employers, you would stand a better chance of being employed. Then about mentors, they are quite busy, as some of the panelists have already mentioned, because they have quite a lot of other duties to do, correct reports, teach, do research, write proposal grants. So that's quite a lot of hard work. So in the midst of that, a busy mentor may not be able to guide a mentee from scratch. So you need to bring in some of the qualities to the table for a better interaction. A good mentor, on the other hand, may have several mentees, and thus he might have limited time per mentee. So you have to have some of these qualities with you, which make your mentor's job that much easier. When you have several good qualities, what happens is that you can actually make a difference, and you can be quite visible to your mentor, and the product would be that in the end, it will open better doors for you. So about the spectrum of mentees that a mentor might come into contact with, there are two extreme models. The Eliza Doolittle model, where the mentee doesn't bring anything to the table. Two, the other extreme, the Hermione Granger model, where you have a perfect or near perfect mentee with all the skills that you expect. So as a mentor, you might want to work with somebody that already brings quite a lot of qualities to you, because your work is that much easier, but something might be missing, and that missing part would be your contribution to the relationship. So when you transform lives and see that people have developed into better researchers, better human beings, as a mentor, that is the best satisfaction you can get out of mentoring. When we really look at it, the type of mentees that we get are in between these two extremes. So they bring some great qualities to the table. And as a mentor, you might see that they lack certain skills, or maybe they need some attitude change, and your work is that much easier because they at least bring some of the qualities that you expect from them. And how to categorize these mentee qualities? I'm using this model, which is very widely used in outcome-based learning. They can be knowledge-based, skill-based, or attitude-based. If you look at these three categories, the most easiest to transfer would be the knowledge. And about skills, of course, you can set up goals, you can set up tasks, and you can make the mentee work hard to develop the skills. But attitudes would be the most difficult to inculcate or to transfer, because that is changing the mentee to a greatest extent. So any given day, a mentor might like to concentrate more on knowledge and skills rather than attitudes. But once again, the greatest satisfaction you can gain as a mentor would be to work on the attitudes of your mentees. Let's look at these different qualities one by one. These are not by all means a comprehensive list, because there'll be many other characters, but I'm concentrating on some of the important ones. Already the previous presenters have looked at some of these, including respect and interaction and communication. But I'm going to talk about some qualities under these three different categories. To begin with, under knowledge-based qualities, a mentee must have a sound background of the basics of his or her field, because that's the foundation from which you can build your research career. Then again, they need to have a good awareness of the scientific approach, because you can have quite a nice title. You may be working on a very good project, but if your approach is not scientific, if it doesn't have a hypothesis, if it doesn't have objectives, if it doesn't have design and then appropriate methodology, your program might fail. And in the end, you may not be able to disseminate knowledge. When you start a research project, you need a thorough understanding of available literature. You need to have the ability to read and then understand what's going on. And this awareness of the most important literature related to your research would give you the awareness of the research gap. So if you understand your research gap, it's easy for you to work on from there. Perhaps you should be able to expand on what is already there, or you might even be able to introduce something totally new. When you carry out your research as a mentee, understanding the use of appropriate research methodology may become extremely important because the scientific community expect you to stick to certain standards where you use the well-known research methodology so that your work can be publishable, can be disseminated among your peers. Moving on to the skill-based qualities, I think the most important one is the communication skills. This would actually include quite a lot of other skills, including language skills, the ability to pitch to the type of audience you have, and the ability to understand different personalities and cater to their needs. So this is, in fact, the most important skill if you are a mentee. You may have an absolutely wonderful language skill, but then if you don't know how to communicate, if you don't know how to use the correct terms, the correct words, you could be in a bit of a spot. I have seen people with absolutely wonderful language skills writing horrible sentences, convoluted sentences. So communication is a two-way process where the receiver needs to understand exactly what you're trying to convey. Then if you're someone who's working with research, you should have the ability to use keywords in searching because the keywords will give you the best literature available for your work. Of course, you need to have great IT skills because IT skills are fast becoming part of the literacy that we expect from a mentee. You may have to use software, you may have to use web-based tools, sometimes even coding based on the type of research that you do. So when you dig for literature, obviously there's a need to speed read because there is a plethora of information out there. So you need to speed read and pick up only what is needed for your research. Then, of course, you need to have these analytical skills and then out-of-the-box thinking. I'm not saying that it's a must to have these qualities. I'm just referring to the qualities that you should have. But then again, your mentor is there to brush up anything that is missing. So out-of-the-box thinking is something that's not going to turn up every day because most of us have been framed to a particular way of thinking. So it might be very difficult for us. But when you do research, sometimes when everything gets stuck, you require to step out of your comfort zone and start thinking innovatively. When you do research, there will be plenty of techniques that you will encounter. Of course, these days people get the services from service labs, but that's not a very good way of doing research because if you can master these techniques, you can troubleshoot, you can go back and work on areas that you have gone wrong. So if you have the skill of mastering techniques, it may take some time, but it will always be good. Then, of course, statistical analysis is very important when you start a research that you have the proper statistical background, because if you try to use statistics right at the end of your research, you might have already collected quite a lot of redundant data that will not be helpful to you. So in the beginning, if you have this skill, then you would know exactly what to do, what type of statistical analysis methods that you can use, and how you should design your experiments. Finally, I would like to tell that it's very important to have the ability to interpret results, because you might have a champagne research, you may have great results, but if you don't know how to interpret them, then that would not give the proper place for the type of research that you have done. I'm moving to the last section, which is the attitude-based qualities in a mentee. There's quite a list. I will try to cover most of it. I have left out some of the well-known ones like mutual respect, because that has already been dealt with. The respect, the trust, and all these things have been dealt with by the previous presenters. So I'm sticking to some of the things that have been experienced by me as a mentor over this period of maybe about 17 years or so. So the most important one is punctuality. This also includes managing time. And if you're not good at sticking to deadlines, replying to mails, and sticking with the times that are set for seminars and meetings, that could be quite a turn-off for your mentor, because punctuality is considered one of the most important characters to have. When we look at a researcher, confidence counts a lot, but confidence doesn't actually come from nowhere. It comes with quite a lot of other skills like having a proper understanding of what we have discussed on the last slide, and skills like communication skills, skills like IT skills, and all this would give you the confidence to take on a very difficult research. So if your mentor sees that you're not vacillating and you have quite a lot of confidence, he may also want to walk that extra mile with you. Then a researcher, or for that matter, a person in any community should have the ability to teamwork and be open for networking, because networking is very important for you when you develop as a mentee. The collaborations that you develop will decide who you are. We have seen the first presenters collaborating work, and that's a really good example for proper networking. Then, of course, when you do research, you will face quite a lot of challenges, and sometimes people start leaving their research out of frustration. But at the same time, you can look at these challenges as opportunities for expansion of the already existing knowledge, or maybe even coming up with something totally new. Then, of course, as a researcher, you should have ethical practices. This is a section with quite a lot of other things, including not stealing other people's data, not stealing other people's ideas, including people in your work who have contributed immensely, and not plagiarizing. That's like cutting and pasting someone's work, and even the results. Sometimes people cook results to come up with nice interpretation. So all these things, if you can avoid, they fall under this category of ethical practices. As a mentee, you should always be ready to listen and learn from your mentor. Sometimes it's a little bit difficult because we have our own point of opinion, but believe me, if you have the listening skills, you could learn quite a lot from that. Then I have included one contradictory character here, that is not being afraid to disagree. Because as a mentee, if you take everything from your mentor as it is, you might become a small version or miniature version of your mentor. That's not going to help the world, because we need diversity. So there are times that you feel that you should disagree, but then you should have perfect communication skills to convey that message to your supervisor without hurting his pride. Then flexibility is also extremely important because as you work with your mentor, you may have to change some of your ways. You may have to adapt new ways of doing things, new skills, new attitudes, depending on the type of mentor you're working with. Most of us stick to our comfort zone. So for a mentee, that's not good at all, because there'll be times that you need to come out of your shell, take a few calculated risks, because your achievements may require coming out of your comfort zone. And finally, I would like to talk about this essential quality, that is setting up goals, because whatever you do, you need to set up goals. You need to have mechanisms of achieving these goals. And most importantly, you should keep records of what you do, because in research, sometimes people tend to lose their raw data. And that is a crime, because there are times some people have lost their publications because they were not able to give raw data. So when you work as a mentee, it's always good to keep records on a daily basis, because if you just leave it for a while, you may forget what really took place. So that's just about it. If I sounded like a bullet train, I'm extremely sorry, because I was trying to include as much as possible in a short period of time. But of course, you can just Google up any of these things and you will find some interesting reading. But what I have done is to give the perspective of a mentor from my own experience and the experience of my friends and the people whom I work with. Thank you very much. And if you have not snored, I think I have been successful.
Thank you very much, Dr. Chathuranga, for your very interesting talk. And from now on, I will hand over the session to Dr. Dinum Pereira, the refresher of the live question and answering session. Over to you, Dr. Dinum.
Thank you, Asha. I'm Dinum Pereira, a senior lecturer working for the Department of Bioprocess Technology. I am your Q&A facilitator today. We have so many questions, and most of you all asked whether they would be able to get the slides, and also they were really interested about those articles, those references Professor Joseph Tucker mentioned, and we will make those presentations available for you through YouTube. The videos will be available through YouTube, and also those presentations will be available through our Facebook page as well. And Professor Tucker, you would be able to provide those references, right?
Definitely happy to share those references.
Thank you so much. Here we have some questions, and let me get them. Just a second. Okay. Here, the first question, as a mentor, do you have to choose your mentees or mentees choose you? So that's the first question. And Dr. Chathuranga, would you be able to answer that question?
Yeah, I mean, there can be different point of views depending on the type of mentor. But talking from my own experience, most of the time it's the mentees who start contacting you. But at the same time, depending on where you are, so for instance, if you are in a university, sometimes you don't have the mentees coming like that because they're a little scared of the system that operates. So in such a case, what usually happens is the mentor has a say of selecting mentees. So it can work both ways, depending on the kind of institute that you work for.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir. And also here we have a question. It says in many places, especially in developing countries, we often see some hierarchy among mentors. Is there any way to overcome them? That's the question. Professor Pradeepa, would you be able to answer that?
Yes, Dilum. Actually, I had that in the list as well. In nature's list, it was there, the seniority, but actually purposely I removed that from the list of, the characters of, mentor. So I think, yes, there is such thing, especially in the developing countries where we are. I think it is not there anymore, I would say. It was there earlier, but I think now we are having this, sort of friendly relationship. I personally, I mean, there are different sides of this question. One, I think sometimes it's good to have like a young researcher as your mentor. That is what I have heard in the US, because they are also climbing up in the ladder. So they want to publish, they want to do good research, apply for grants, and then you grow up together. The mentor and the mentee both basically grow up together. So I think there's that kind of a culture is now pretty much established in our country, as I have seen over the last 6-7 years. Yes, I think it is basically that is not there anymore, I would say. That is why I removed this from the list as well.
Thank you, Professor Pradeepa. Here I have this question for Professor Joseph Thakur. And the question is, how can we build a long-term mentor-mentee relationship? Here actually there are two questions. The first question is, how can we build a long-term mentor-mentee relationship? And this question has some background information as well. It says like, let's say if you have to work for a mentor for a long term, and if the interest do not match, if the interest of the mentor and mentee, they do not match, it would create conflict. So it asks how to deal with such situations. So there are two questions. First question is, how can we build a long-term mentor-mentee relationship? And the second question is, how to deal with such situations, such conflicts.
Thanks, Dr. Pereira. That's a great question. And I think my own mentor, Mike Cohen, would have said that mentoring is like, it's cradle to grave. It's like, it's a commitment to the person that is long-term. And so it's not about, a short-term relationship, and how to kind of extend the relationship over time. I think checking in from a mentee perspective, checking in with your mentor regularly and making sort of a habit of checking in can be helpful. And from a mentor perspective, it's really the same thing, kind of having a regular system where you contact folks or keep people in the loop, connect individuals. And in turn, I think the sort of conflict is inevitable, especially the longer term the relationship is. You're inevitably going to go in new directions that the mentor might not have imagined before. So, and I think that's where communication becomes really important, that it's not about this specific field or this narrow scientific question. It's about maintaining the relationship between you as a mentor and you, the sort of mentor-mentee relationship over time. And I would think it's, you know, the kind of cultivating those relationships is, it's being present physically, it's keeping in touch, and also when times are tough. So like, you know, US-China relationships right now are very difficult and there's a lot of strain, but there's still a lot of enthusiasm and ways to continue the mentor-mentee relationship despite that sort of overall, you know, cloudy weather. Over.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Here I have this great question. So the question is, who should be leading the research idea, mentor or mentee? Maybe all three speakers, or maybe Dr. Chathuranga, you can go ahead and start the question again. Who should be leading the research idea, mentor or mentee?
Yeah, most of the time, what happens in a university or maybe even in a research institute is that they already have programs that they have started. So they start putting up these titles, and then the mentees have a look at them, and then they select. But at the same time, when you are in a university, it sometimes happens so that people start contacting you based on your Google Scholar profile, or maybe even some of the new profiles that are available, like the Publons. And what they would do is that they would come up to you, maybe in their second year, maybe in their first year even, come up to you with their ideas. And that is also happening. But I think majority of the time, it's the institute, the PI who has funding for a particular research when they start advertising for titles. But of course, when you start your research, then again, that may give a different perspective, because the student may take it to a different dimension, because sometimes when you do research, you find certain branches that works well for you.
All right, thank you, sir. So rest of the two speakers, would you like to add some more to that?
I agree. I mean, I think it's like sort of the initiative needs to come from both sides, and it needs to be a collaborative endeavor. So a good research topic has both student unique things that only that student, only that mentee could come up with, but at the same time has sort of is within the wheelhouse or within the field of the mentor. So there's sort of a productive overlap between the mentee's aspirations and what gets them really excited, and the mentor's disciplinary focus and sort of expertise. Over.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I think this question, I already, Professor Pradeepa talked about this a little bit. He does. Is there any difference between mentor and supervisor? That's the question. And so, Professor Pradeepa, would you like to add some more to what you have already mentioned?
Yeah, it was there in a slide, I think, third or fourth slide. But anyway, yes, there is a difference. Sometimes your supervisor can be your mentor, but may not be as well. So the supervisor is the lead, will advise you and improve your research. So that's your primary, sometimes it is called advisor. I think this term is used interchangeably. Sometimes called advisor in some countries it's called supervisor and mentor. And that is, I think, the reason that people kind of, get messed up. So it can be or cannot, may or may not be, I would say. So the advisor or supervisor is your research leader, or will advise and direct you particularly on research, but your mentor may not be directly, talking about your research, but, overall, how you grow up, or how do you develop your overall qualities, like we discussed a lot of them during the webinar. So that is pretty much an overall thing. It may or may not be, I would say, the advisor. For me, yes, my first, my advisor was my mentor, the first mentor as well. I would say the key mentor, but I have few others as you saw. And so that is how it is for me in many cases, at least based on my experience. Even for me, like I'm manager supervisor of some of the students, but I'm not the mentor. I just mentor part of their project and other things related to research, but they may be having different mentors. I know that they have. That's good to have many, I guess.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. I have this question for Dr. Chathuranga. The question is how we institutionalize mentorship in the higher academic institutions, particularly to strengthen knowledge and skill transfers. Let me repeat it again. How we institutionalize mentorship in the higher academic institutions, particularly to strengthen knowledge and skill transfers.
Yeah, of course, there are different ways of doing it. For instance, webinars like this would first and foremost make people aware of how these mentor-mentee relationship should proceed, and what are the transferable skills, and how difficult it is, and all that, so that we have a starting point. But from there onwards, there can even be training programs for mentors and mentees alike, so that the interaction is much more meaningful, fruitful. At the same time, mentoring, like Professor Pradeepa has mentioned before me, is something that happens outside, sometimes outside the work that you do, because you try to involve with your mentee at different realms. So such kind of mentoring require, I think, more focus. So there need to be different kind of like different setups that allows you to talk about these kind of mentoring. I think the already existing counseling and the type of research mentoring that you already have we can basically take these things under one roof and provide a more overall mentoring experience. So I feel we already have these different entities at our disposal in our institute. So what we can do is that we can regularize them after the awareness programs, and we can take them under one roof and give a better experience.
Thank you, sir. It's a great explanation. Here we have some more questions. So this question is for Professor Tucker. To what extent a mentor can intervene in the academic publications of a mentee? It asks what's the boundary. Again, the question is to what extent a mentor can intervene in the academic publications of a mentee, and what's the boundary? That's the question.
It's a good question, and I think oftentimes mentees can get excited about, there's endless passion and there's a desire to be involved in 10 projects and sort of be a little bit involved in many projects and not have one project that they're sort of running. So, I see the mentors, a good mentor would help their mentee to focus, and really find a small, a single project that they could make a bigger contribution to and sort of co-lead and co-develop, and not spread themselves too thin. So within the world of publications, this would be a mentor helping their mentee to find a niche where they could have a first author publication, like a single or a second author publication or something where they're contributing more, rather than having 10 publications where they're co-author and they're involved in some smaller way. So I think it's an important question, and one that mentors and mentees alike should consider. Over.
And thank you so much. Here I have this question for Professor Pradeepa. The question is, mentor-mentee concept is widely practiced in Western countries and in the developing world too. However, in my country, Nepal, this is not so prevalent. Could you enlighten us how do we instill this culture to enhance our productivity?
Yeah, I think at certain point of time, it was like that in Sri Lanka as well, I would say. First, when I joined the staff as a probationary lecturer, but things have changed now. I guess this kind of, as Professor Dr. Chathuranga also mentioned, I think organizing these kind of events and enlightening both the mentors and mentees about this the available advantages, disadvantages, all that, basically the awareness, I would say. So if you want to start some like formalize, maybe you also have some informal relationships, or informal arrangements, but definitely I think the most important thing is to formalize and enlighten people and promote that. I think this is a very good starting point, even for another country to think about such programs. So I also appreciate the University, Rajarata University of Sri Lanka and the TDR Global taking this as a main topic. I wish, and I think the other countries like Nepal or whatever the country you are thinking of can also initiate these kind of programs and enlighten people or researchers or mentors, mentees, both parties. As you mentioned, there's more than 1,000 people in this group today. So I think it's a big achievement for the team. So I congratulate on that, and also encourage other countries to think about. So as she also pointed out, like it's a very common and on the first day of the grad school, I heard about all these things in 2005. I learned that during the orientation program. So it is a formalized mechanism in the developed countries. And we have not that much, but we are much better than it was earlier. Yeah. I hope I answered the question.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. I keep getting so many questions, but here we, I mean, the time allocated for Q&A is kind of, we are running out of time. I have one more question. This is for Dr. Chathuranga. The question is, as a mentor, how can you identify the fine line as to when to stop mentoring process?
That is, of course, again, depends on the kind of mentor that you're referring to. But talking from my own experience, sometimes it's very difficult and it's very grayish, because your mentee may not want you to mentor certain aspects because they also have strong individualities. But it's a compromise, whether you're willing to take it up as a challenge or whether you're accepting the fact that the mentee also needs free space. So most of the time, I mean, I'm a bit of a patient person. So if I look at this from my own perspective, I would take some time if it is becoming a little bit stressful for the interaction, if my mentoring is a little bit stressful. One way of doing this is you take your time off, let it cool off, and you can try, if you're still interested in mentoring these kind of a mentee, what you could do is try new ways. I mean, you can always use humor. You can always use different techniques, but only if you think as a mentor that the mentee needs more mentoring. But you need to understand and you need to read between lines because you cannot mentor on your own if the mentee is not ready to take up the mentoring. So I think it's a bit of both. The mentor trying his best to give a good future to the mentee, but at the same time, the mentor should also be careful that he or she may not, as I've mentioned before, make a miniature model of him or herself, and need to realize that mentee also is an individual that needs to grow. And of course, in developed countries, there's always the right to refuse. So that's quite a lot for us to think about. So I think the limits you can understand if you have a very good relationship with your mentee. And if it is coming to that level, I think you should take a break.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. So the time allocated for the Q&A session is over now. So I'm gonna hand over the rest of the session to Dr. Ajit Ratnayake, head of the Bioprocess Technology Department. Over to you, Ajit.
Thank you very much, Dr. Dino. On behalf of the Faculty of Technology, Rajarata University of Sri Lanka, let me express our sincere appreciation to those who have contributed their time and effort to complete this event successfully. First, a big thank you to all our panelists today who have shared their expertise with the participants. Professor Pradeepa Bandaranayake, the Director of the Agricultural Biotechnology Center, University of Peradeniya. Professor Joseph Tucker, London School of Tropical Medicine and Hygiene, UK. And Dr. Chathuranga Bamunuarachchige, a senior lecturer here. Sorry about, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear
Sorry
you.
about the...
Yeah, we can hear you.
Sorry about the interruption. Yes, Professor Joseph Tucker, London School of Tropical Medicine and Hygiene, UK. Dr. Chathuranga Bamunuarachchige, a senior lecturer here, Faculty of Technology, Rajarata University of Sri Lanka. I'm sure everyone in the audience now have far more understanding the skills and knowledge we all need to develop in order to succeed as a mentor or mentee, and also how to maintain a good, healthy relationship between a mentor and a mentee. Thanks again for all the panelists today. I also would like to express our appreciation to Professor Pascal Lunias, Coordinator TDR Global in Geneva. We are honored by your presence and are highly indebted to you for explaining the purpose of this webinar today. Next, Dr. Ananda Karunaratne, Vice Chancellor, Rajarata University of Sri Lanka, and Dr. Buddhika Jayatilaka, the Dean, Faculty of Technology, Rajarata University of Sri Lanka. Thank you both for being with us today, regardless of their busy schedules, and introducing the university and the faculty to the audience. I must mention Dr. Sasi, the Director of WHO TDR Global Asia Note. Thank you very much for your constant support and the guidance for this webinar and also providing the sponsorship for this event. We truly appreciate that. And thank you all the participants who have joined with us today from all over the world. We appreciate your participation for this event today and also your active engagement during the question and answer session. Dr. Dinum Pereira, who is our moderator for the Q&A session today. Dr. Dinum, thank you very much for doing it. Finally, yet importantly, organizers from our end, Dr. Asha and her team, which include all the head of the departments, academics, non-academics, and most importantly, students of the Faculty of Technology. You all did a fantastic job behind the scene. Thank you, Dr. Asha, Dr. Priyanta, Dr. Samit, Mr. Soisa, Ishara Gitanjana, Oshani Kirti, Asita Buddhi, Isru, and Chamot. My apologies if I have missed anyone. And also our apologies if you find any difficulty during the session due to technical issues or internet issues. Before winding up, I would like to inform you all that we will be organizing a training workshop for mentors probably around next year, January, with the support of TDR Global Asia North. The information about registration for this workshop and all our upcoming events will be updated in our Facebook page, which we have distributed by now in your chat box and also in this screen. So stay tuned for new updates. I hope you had a fruitful sessions today. Thank you very much and goodbye.